Welcome back to the Giants, guys. Today on the program, two-time Super Bowl champion, Mr. Dave Tollefson. Did you know he recorded a sack in the Super Bowl and they gave it to Justin Tuck? He goes into that and much more on this episode of the Giants, guys.
Yep, you know me. We are back. Who are we? Of course, we're the Giants, guys. The podcast you love to hate. I am Craig Santucci, your host and the owner and operator of nygiantsrush.com. These are my guys over here. Well, down there is Mikey Fresh, and that is Jeff. But as always, because I love you people, I constantly bring you something cool, okay? And today I have not one, but two-time Super Bowl champ Dave Tollefson, number 71. By the way, Dave, I also know that you played for the Berlin Thunder and the Frankfurt Galaxy, and you got drafted by the Packers. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing great, man. Enjoying some nice, cool fall weather out here in Nebraska and living the dream out here, man.
You're wearing an A's hat. How does that work?
I grew up east of Oakland. It's the only team we got left.
Yeah, that's true.
That is a good point.
That is very true. And by the way, just the fact that you were a 7th-round draft pick makes you like one of the coolest dudes on the planet. Because, like, again, it's, you know, the Giants just have a knack for making 7th-round draft picks like Crowder and like Ahmad Bradshaw. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like just Clark. Right. It's something to do with the Giants. I don't know how they make it work, man. But we appreciate you hanging out with us. And I will say, you know, there's not a lot of positive things going on with the Giants right now. So. I'm looking over here at this other screen, like at my notes. Like, so, Dave, how's this locker room right now? Because, you know, another gut punch, 0-5, you know, slugfest with the Cowboys. They lose. And at the same time, you lose Zoe Carter. I know one is you've had some injuries in your day. I know you've missed some time in your day. What is the locker room like at 0-5? And, like, you know, and I guess secondly, is it just next man up? Like losing Zoe is really starting to have a real nice year. Like what does that look like for the Giants right now? Like I'm assuming it's next man up, but you were there.
It's got to be next man up, and I'll get into that in a second. But to be honest with you, and you've heard it from some of my guys, OCU Manura, on some other podcasts and on Twitter, and Lawrence. And I hate to be this guy also, but we were never in these shoes when we were playing for the Giants. It's kind of interesting sometimes when we reflect on our time with the Giants, like our worst team was 8-8. And we felt like everyone was getting cut. Every coach was getting fired. Like it was just going to be a debacle. And we felt that way when we were 8-8.
Now we're doing backflips if they approach 6 wins.
No question. It's such a odd dynamic right now with what's going on. And prior to getting on with you guys, I was kind of really trying to wrap my head around about what's really going. If we were to dive into, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of time on the pod today, what is the issue with the New York Giants? And I think there's a number of them. But when it comes to injuries, it's got to be that way. We went through that in 2011. OC and Tuck were hurt the opening game. Yeah. And I ended up getting the one start of my career against the Washington football team is what we call them now, right? So,
yeah, sure.
But you have to have a group of guys that are good enough to fill those spots because injuries are going to happen. It's inevitable. And the crazy thing about it, typically the better a player is, the more he's injured. And I don't know what that is. I think you could dive into the doctor side of it as far as is the human body designed to do those type of things. Is injuries more prominent in people that are more athletic, right? But they just don't have the depth that was around when I was there.
Okay. Yeah, plus too, like you mentioned, I guess the better you are athletically, the more snaps you get, the less time you have to recover.
More collisions, all that.
Yeah.
They always say that about Bo Jackson, that he wouldn't have gone out the way he did because he was so strong and fighting through that tackle that's what tore his leg up. anybody else would have been tackled at that point. So
Yeah.
I see what he's saying.
I mean, you guys think about how athletic guys are now. I mean, we're talking, 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds. If you're not running a 4.6, you're slow.
Yeah, and they got like 6% body fat.
And it's interesting you actually mentioned the body fat issue. Jerry Palmieri, who was our strength and conditioning coach when I was with the Giants, he wouldn't let guys get that thin.
Because I'm with you. I know where you're going. It's like you need that elasticity in the muscle. Like having body fat actually, from what I can remember, and I think you're alluding to it, is it's pretty good to have some body fat. When you're too muscular and too tight, you snap stuff.
Yeah, and the body fat is really the long-term energy, right? Not what you eat fuels you tomorrow, but over a certain amount of time as the season went on, we would all get thinner and lose that body fat. And that was what really fueled to keep the muscles that we had late in the season. I'm not a doctor, though. I just like Busch Light.
It's a good point. There's so many non-contact injuries now. These guys are so fast. I mean, like, look at all the ACLs, like, because they're just the fast twitch guys that are just – it doesn't take contact. Like, it's turf that can injure.
It's interesting you say that, too, about the ACL stuff. When I tore my MCL some of that time that I missed, I did it against Philly. That was with the punt return, right? Not that I would have helped catch Deshaun Jackson if I was on punt, but I tore my MCL that game. And I get my knee MRI'd, and the doctor's like, when did you tear your ACL? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, half your ACL was torn.
Wow.
Oh.
And what it was, though, is I was so muscular in my lower half with my quads, my glutes, my hamstrings. I was squatting over 700 pounds. That ACL was really protected by big muscle groups, right?
Yeah.
Now we go back to this season, lack of off-season work. So the big muscles aren't where they probably should be to take the pounding, and then you put this stress on these tendons.
And they're probably not all stretched out either.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it other than just showing up and playing football, right? You guys know that now.
Yep. So let's and Lawrence said it, and also, like, is it a talent thing? I mean, really, because you're saying, like, diving into it, like, is the talent really missing, or is it just like there's not enough superstars? Like, where does it fall off? Because I see a lot of good players on the team that can contribute, but there's not enough, like you said, there's not enough tucks in O-season. There's not where's the rub?
I think you hit the nail on the head. What I really started thinking about specifically today was the group up front on both sides of the ball. Excuse me. I think our defensive line isn't too bad. I mean, we got some young guys inside that are going to be good that we drafted, and that's the key.
Yeah.
When you look at that offensive line when I was there, 3 of them were draft picks or undrafted guys. Sean O'Hara was an addition in free agency, and Kareem McKenzie. But the majority of the guys were in-house guys.
Yeah, Deal, Seibert, Snead.
Middle round draft picks. Seibert, undrafted guy, right? When you look at a group, specifically the offensive line and the defensive line, you can never look at them as individuals. You have to look at the makeup of the group. What makes them great as a group, right? What made our defensive line great? I'm not trying to pump myself up, but I was part of the reason that they were great, right? Because I showed up every day. I did my job. I wasn't Justin. I wasn't Osei. I wasn't JPP. Listen, I was the only guy in that room that wasn't drafted by the Giants for years
Wow.
while I was there. So what did I bring to the group that they decided to keep me around? And I'd like to think it was the intentionality that I showed up every day to work with, right? It forced the other guys to work just as hard.
No doubt.
So when we look at this group up front on the O-line and the D-line, again, I like the D-line. I like the young guys. I like what we picked. But I look at the O-line, and I just wonder, what are we trying to do? You look at our guy that we signed from the Patriots, and he opted out this year.
Nate Solder.
Was Solder were any of us ever convinced that he was a typical New York Giants offensive lineman?
No.
Paid a lot for him too.
We're desperate. I mean, they were desperate at the time, you know.
But ultimately, I love Gettleman. They've always treated me great. Incredible man.
He's getting the heat right now, though. He's getting the heat.
He would tell you he deserves it. I think he would tell you that, right?
Yeah, because we definitely, on the show, we go back and forth with it. I remember Gettleman. I'm a little older than these guys. So I remember Gettleman bringing in guys like Plaxico and Antrell Roll and Kavika Mitchell. And I remember that. You, exactly. Yeah. I remember
I was
that.
a practice squad guy.
Yeah.
That he pro scouted that brought me in, right?
Yep. So I also understand that when you flip a roster of 100% from front to back, and with no preseason and no camp and all this stuff, that like it's really hard to just turn it on.
Yeah, and we've been defenders of his for the most part. I think it's just like the mistakes are magnified when the margin is so small. When he had to take over the situation that they were in when he got here,
And I'm with you on defending him. Again, Dave's a great guy. He knows I love him. I know he loves me. He's got to do a better job. And I think when I was there with Tom and Jerry Reese, who I hate, and it's well known. That's what happened.
Dave, you're now officially the Giants guy's favorite guest.
Well, when you sign 5 one-year deals, it pisses you off, right? Like,
sure.
There's not room for a 2-year for me, asshole. Anyways.
That is priceless.
That's great. That's a great drop right there.
It really is. As that guy just rubs me wrong. I feel like the guy was asleep. I know we're getting off topic, but that guy was asleep at the wheel for 5 years.
Yeah, disaster.
Gettleman deserves to be ridiculed at this point. I like Daniel Jones. I do. He has a problem with turnover the ball, which is really nothing new for a New York Giants quarterback. Even
that's true.
Sims.
We're accustomed to that. That's fair.
Yeah. One throws a lot of interceptions. One fumbles the ball. What's the difference?
We like to keep it interesting.
Maybe one of you guys can look at it. But what's Phil Sims' stats for his career? I'm sure he threw a bunch of picks, right?
I'm on it.
It's typically a New York Giants quarterback is a little bit turnover prone, but a tough, hard-nosed guy. The turnovers don't bother him.
And when the you know what hits the fan, they pull through.
They answer the bell, right? We're not even seeing Daniel Jones get that opportunity. Like, can any of us honestly say if he's the future or not?
It's not fair to evaluate him.
Yeah.
Because his cast stinks. So he's not performing as well as he can. We want to see him do better because he's now got 16, 17 starts under his belt. But his O-line is crumbling in front of him. Our wide receiver depth is not good at all. We have no stars really on offense. We lost Barkley. So on one hand, he's running for his life. And on the other hand, we're 0-5. So you tend to look at the guy who touches the ball in every play. Oh. So it's unfair to blame Daniel Jones completely. I think the fan base is just so frustrated that it's
they should be.
I watched him, like, Dave, we're some of our guys are more critical. The fan base is a little, like I said, they're tired of losing. But like when you're trying to grab on to something, I mean, I saw a guy with guys around his feet, okay, step over guys, roll out, and throw 3 dimes on the sideline to Slayton, which right away, this is what drives me crazy about, I guess, football in 2020 is that's not freaking easy. Like, to have mayhem around you, guys scrambling at your feet, rolling out on the run with guys that run 4.2s and 4.3 40-yard dashes around you and throw 3 dimes on the sideline. Like, that should tell you that the athleticism is there, and that it's worth continuing moving forward because he can make the throws, he can make the reads, but he doesn't have anybody to help him. If you put Plaxico Burress or Amani Toomer or Victor Cruz or Hakeem Nicks on that team, we're talking about a different world. I mean, these guys don't get open.
Yeah, it's been brutal to watch. Just like nowhere to go. He's got nowhere to go.
Let me tell you guys something interesting. Oh, we were talking about it prior to getting on here. My sixth grade football team that I'm a head coach of is also 0-5. And guess what problems we have? We can't block. We can't block very well.
The same ones.
And we can't tackle very well. Again,
minor details.
As complicated as this game has gotten with the spread offenses, you got Cliff Kingsbury, you got Lamar Jackson running around everywhere, you got Mahomes. The bottom line is on offense, you have to move people out of the way. And on defense, you have to tackle the guy with the ball before he crosses the goal line.
Well, the Jets just released Bell, so maybe we scoop him up. Who knows?
Wow, really?
Hey, well, at least we're not the Jets. At least we're not the Jets. Get that going for us.
It's so funny how both franchises have the same record, but like just the way even other Jet fan friends that I have, are just the way that they talk about their team is just like another story,
well,
another level.
Let me ask you guys this though. When you think about our problems as a team, does getting rid of Gettleman ultimately solve those right away?
I would have to say, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm talking about just the realistic fan, okay? The realistic fan, no matter how passionate you are or not passionate, the realistic fan says, no, it changes nothing, right? In the short term. The non-realistic kind of wearing your heart on your sleeve fan is like, well, that serves him right for messing up. Like punishing him doesn't really make me feel any better because you're still not ready to draft. We're still in season. Like what? I don't know. Like he picked up Logan Ryan. He picked up Freeman. Like
Bradbury.
He picked up Bradbury and Martinez. Like he's old school. I like to say this. And I don't want to get off on a tangent. And Jeff and Mikey, I'll let you guys jump in. But my thing is this. He built the team with B-plus football players, right? He built himself this very even-keeled, steady football team that could tackle, like you just said, and potentially could block. But they really weren't – there weren't enough – like there wasn't – they're all B-plus players. There were no A-plus players. So there's no one to raise the B-plus players up to A players. Everybody's a B-plus player. I can't punish the guy for drafting that way or building it that way because that's just kind of his style. Guy's 70-something years old. He's conservative with his approach. Getting rid of him means nothing to me right now. The only thing that I want is just play competitive right now. What I saw on Sunday was at least competitive. I wasn't ready to throw away, my season tickets.
Yeah, I don't think that getting rid of him solves anything. And, we've talked about it before. If you get rid of him and you bring in a new GM, if that GM doesn't have any ties to Judge, then you're just starting this vicious cycle.
Or Jones, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're talking about a new system and stuff like that. So, and again, we've defended him and we've liked a lot of his draft picks the last couple of years. But to your point, Dave, like you got to be critical. Like, again, he got here 3 years ago. The offensive line still is a problem. He got here 3 years ago, and we have maybe 7 defensive tackles interior that could play with other positions that are deficient. So, like, you can certainly criticize him. And when you miss, it hurts. DeAndre Baker, that hurts. That's a first-round pick.
Don't forget Beal and Baker.
Well,
yeah, like
and then
painful.
You stack on top of that how bad the NFC East is now, right? Like we're talking about if we got a 9-7 football team,
playoffs.
We're making the playoffs, right? Like our favorite Jim Mora playoffs.
Yeah, I've been saying that every September we're winless, and every October I'm like, but we're still in the division race.
Well, what I immediately thinking about when we're talking about the GM and even the head coach now, is I think about the Atlanta Falcons situation. Position for position, no question they're a better football team than the New York Giants, right? Like that move was the right move. And they love Dan Quinn, does a great job. Dimitroff does a great job. But when you look at their roster compared to ours, they underperformed, right? Yeah. So someone needs to be held accountable. When I look at the Giants right now, I feel like they're kind of performing how we thought they should with what they have on the field. The defense is competitive, and we can't protect Daniel to the degree that he can make plays down the field. And he doesn't have – hey, listen, Evan Ingram, I'm sure, is a great kid, but, like, listen, when it comes to New York Giants and the NFC East, you need an inline tight end. Jeremy Shockey, Kevin Boss, Bear Pasco, read the list. Jake Ballard. I mean, the NFC East, for whatever reason, we used to always call it the NFC Beast, right? You got to run the football and you got to play defense. It's just always been that way.
But Dave, I've been pounding this for a while now, Jeff. I know you know what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, I think they can work with Caden Smith. They don't use them.
Yeah, it's just so tough to say because I know exactly the predicament that they're in. When you have a guy
that's talented, yeah.
Exactly. Like, remember how Shockey was with Eli? Remember that whole thing?
Like oil and water.
Well, when you have someone that talented, and I'm not comparing Evan to Shockey because Jeremy, honestly, when I got there, he was one of the best blocking tight ends that I ever went against. It was super competitive and strong at the point of attack.
Did you guys go out and practice?
Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. We would kick each other's – well, he would kick mine more than I would. But when you have a guy that's so talented as Evan, you want to get him the ball. But when he's out there, they know he's not blocking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do?
You're stuck.
I mean, yeah, you kind of pigeonholed yourself.
Yeah. Well, also, too, when you get him the ball, he kind of drops it a lot.
Well, you know they call wide receivers that drop the ball?
Tight ends?
DBs.
Yeah. maybe he's an outside backer.
But honestly, like, I think sometimes that stuff gets thrown out the window as far as you want to be careful criticizing guys, which I always am because I played. I know it's tough. But if you can't catch the ball as a receiving tight end, what I don't even know what.
Yeah, when you're not a blocker.
Yeah,
you have to be automatic catching.
And I think you can be critical of these types of things, right? Like, listen, you got to be better at catching the ball. Like, that's not that complicated.
I think, and Jeff, you could back me up here. We've talked about this for how many years now? It's not like it's a new thing, Jeff. How many times have we talked about Evan Ingram dropping the ball, running a wrong route, getting blown up at the point of attack? Like, we keep hearing about how athletic he is, and even this week he buzzes around that outside linebacker for the touchdown, and you're like, okay, maybe that's a springboard to something. But Jeff, how long have we been talking about? Man, we're just waiting for Ingram to take off.
Forever. And that's why we were so excited about Caden Smith. We're like, okay, this guy looks like a typical tight end. And then when we got Jason Garrett, we're like, this is going to be our Witten. This is going to be our rock, like towards the end zone. He flashed a lot last year. Got a lot of touchdowns down the stretch last year. Disappointing because Caden Smith seems like he could be the guy. And if you knew how to use Evan Ingram and develop him, then you could have a two tight end. Like Giants typically, it doesn't seem like we ever had a real two tight end threat going on.
Well, when Jake Ballard, it was, we really haven't, but you kind of get in that Jake Ballard, Bear Pasco situation. Like we went into the Super Bowl with both of them in 2011, and it definitely wasn't like what the Patriots had with Gronkowski and the guy
Hernandez.
People.
Hernandez, yeah.
But like you create mismatch situations when you have two tight ends that are capable. You can create some issues on the line of scrimmage and with pass plays. I'm not in the room. Jason Garrett was a 2 tight end guy.
Yeah, we're still scratching our head on that.
He's got to get better too. I mean, when you're 0-5, like everybody's got to get better. Like, like it's just.
So let me do this. Just remind everybody you're listening to the Giants, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Dave, I'm going to move from the offensive woes. Not that the defense has a whole lot of bad things to talk about because they've really surprised us. But I got to talk to you about 2 things. I'm looking over here at these notes. So turnovers, pass rush. The Giants are in the middle of the pack in the NFL with 12 sacks, okay, as of yesterday. And they're the bottom of the league with 3 interceptions. Is this contributing to them being on the field so long? Because I feel like Graham's defense is pretty good, but they can't get off the field. Like, so is this basically all about pass rush and turnovers? Because it's really kind of odd when they're playing that good, but they still can't get off the field. And I know you've lived this for a while.
Yeah, there's a couple things. One, our offense turns the ball over too much, which is we kind of went over that.
Yep.
Just a little bit ago. That hurts, right? That gets our defense on the field more than it needs to be. The bottom line is in the NFL as a defense, you have to get turnovers and you have to affect the quarterback. And I use that word affect because sacks are a really weird stat. And I don't think I've ever said this really publicly, but think about this. The numbers.
Hang on. Is this an exclusive?
Yeah. It's exclusive. So as a pass rusher, what are the numbers? How many times did Drew Brees throw the ball last year? 600 times? I don't know. Whatever. Let's just say 600 pass. Let's say 500. I think that's probably a pretty average number, 500 passes in a season. It's probably low. Think as a defensive lineman, you get 500 pass rushes, right? If you have 10 sacks is the number. Like if you have 10, that's a great season.
You got a bonus.
So if you got 10 sacks in 500 attempts, like you're playing minor league baseball your entire life if you're going 10 for 500.
Yeah.
So you really have to focus on how we're affecting the quarterback. What we're seeing that's happened to Daniel, him throwing off his back foot, him throwing on the run, him getting the ball knocked out of his hands when he is running. And I don't think we're seeing enough of that. And the numbers might not always be there with the sack numbers because as good as we went down and played the Saints in 2011 and got run out of the gym.
50 points, yeah.
We couldn't even sniff Drew's jock strap. I mean, we couldn't get near him. But obviously, we were one of the best defensive lines in the league at the time for those 5 years I was there. So you have to look at, are they getting at his feet? That's kind of the verbiage that I use. And that doesn't mean grabbing his feet. But
just so he's nervous and shuffling.
I don't know if you guys remember in 2011, there was a great clip. We went to New England and beat them. Remember that? It was
yeah.
For the record, I was there.
Yeah.
Without I think without Jacobs that game too. He didn't play.
And I'll tell you this, Jake, who made the catch of the day? Jake Ballard.
Big time play. So there's a play during that game where Brady dropped back and he took his hop step and he ducked. And no one was near him.
Nice.
No, not a soul was.
I now have to go back and watch this.
It's really cool. And what we called that was ghost pressure. He was so used to us being there that he automatically bent.
Because he thought somebody was coming in over the top.
And then I go to the Super Bowl that season when he threw that intentional grounding in the end zone. No one was really near him.
No, but the internal clock says there is.
Exactly. So you really got to focus on getting close to him, making him feel that pressure. And we just don't have the horses in the stable right now. You talk about Zoe getting hurt. He was a guy that could do it. Guys, think about our D-line. Like, I was coming in for Linval Joseph. Linval's like a Pro Bowl caliber defensive tackle, right?
Yeah.
Like, we had dogs. We could run guys through, and everyone knew how to do their job.
Yeah.
Those crazy NASCAR packages. I mean, and that's also a little bit on Graham, Jeff, isn't it? A little bit on Graham, because sometimes we're running 3 down linemen and we got, 8 DBs.
Don't say 3. That makes me want to puke.
I don't. I mean, because I'm a little old school. Like I want to see 4 and 5 guys go get it, right?
Even when we went to 3 down linemen, one of the DNs stayed in and played linebacker.
Yeah. Like I get it's a new NFL and all that kind of stuff, but like at the end of the day, give me 4 or 5 guys and go get it. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you don't have to blitz, that's another positive, right? Like, you're putting 7 guys into coverage. You could do a bunch of different things coverage-wise. What happens, it's kind of funny. I coach at a junior college here, and our season's canceled.
Like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Manufacture pressure. So you have the double-edged sword of when to blitz, when not to blitz, right?
Yeah.
So if you blitz all the time to create pressure, then you don't have guys in coverage, and they don't always come home, when you make it home, you to the quarterback. If you don't blitz a lot and rush with 4 guys, when you do blitz, it's more successful because you don't do it often. So as a defensive coach, you're always kind of playing with that ebb and flow of, can my guys get there on their own? Do I need to blitz? But if I blitz all the time, then I don't have guys in coverage.
Sure.
If I don't blitz, then it works when I blitz, and I don't have to have the guys in coverage. So it's a complicated dance, and that's why I'm a big 4 down guy and get those guys to rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, they're on the field so long, and I like what Graham is doing, just it's hard to figure out. Like, you're right. Sometimes the sack numbers don't come, but we're not getting any picks. We're not getting to the quarterback.
And they're last in 3rd downs. They can't get off the field on 3rd downs, and I think that could be a symptom of 1st and 2nd down. I feel like I'm looking at a lot of 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, and then you can't really unleash any type of pass rush because you got to defend against everything. So
I got a funny 3rd and 3 story.
Love it. Bring it. Bring it.
So, Derek Burgess. You guys remember Derek Burgess?
Eagles.
Yeah, played for the Raiders.
Okay.
So I'm at training camp in 2007 with the Raiders after I get back from the Berlin Thunder, right? Lane Kiffin's the head coach. It's a total shit show, right? And we're doing like a 3rd and 3 period. And I always had back issues, and my back was flared up, so I wasn't practicing. And Derek never practiced anyways. Even though he's an all-pro player, he just didn't practice. Looked like $1 million. Ripped cigarettes like you wouldn't believe, like every day, but just jacked, right? So I'm a young kid, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, man, what an ambiguous down. And he looks at me, and I made the mistake of asking him if he knew what ambiguous meant.
Whoops.
He's like, don't you ever talk to me again or I'll beat your ass. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
You're like,
yes, sir.
It's funny you say that about 3rd and 3, though. What do you do, right? As a defense, like
you're in the middle.
Yeah, so you're right. You got to be 1st down. So not to get too crazy about it, but with that D-line I was with all those dudes that could pass rush, we focused really hard on our 1st down play. We were good at pass rushing, if not great. I would argue that those 5 years that we were all together, every year we were the best defensive line in the NFL, right? We focused a lot of time and energy on those 1st downs. Because if we could limit them to a 2 or 3 yard gain, it was high probability the 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8, we were going to get 2 pass rushes in a row, which is what we wanted to do.
I think it's very I think that 2007, 2011 4-year span of rushers might even be underrated because here's the thing. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, BJ Hill, Tomlinson, they're all big, strong guys. But what I always notice is, and maybe I'm just over critiquing it, like I don't find they have multi moves. Like, where's the swim, the bull rush, the spin? Like all three of them are all power bull rushers. You know what I mean? And like even the hand slap. I used to love watching, like, I don't know if Strahan got it from LT or what, but yeah, exactly.
Dude, I still got the hands, the hips and the legs aren't there, but I could do some.
Well, that's what happens after a while, right? They go. But like,
you want to play Sunday?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Let's get Dave back in some equipment. But when you watch these guys, I'm just like, make a move, do something. Listen, 40 years old, Dwight Freeney was still spinning around dudes.
And some of that, again, we talk about the proper critique of the coaches, and it's the coaches' jobs to put those guys in position to make plays. Leonard, I bet you, and I'm just saying, they could probably put Leonard Williams out at the end on pass rush plays.
Oh, yeah, okay. That could probably happen.
He wanted to get paid as an edge rusher.
But can we put the bigger guys inside, Tomlinson, Dexter, on pass rush plays, have them push the pocket, right? Really collapse the inside so that quarterback can't step up. And let's give Leonard some action against probably physically he would overmatch a offensive tackle. Why haven't we seen that?
Coach Judge, I got Dave T on the phone. He's got some really good ideas that you're not figuring out. I hear you. Like, but how do they not see this? This is what they get paid to do.
Well,
that's where the frustration comes in, Dave. Is that you getting years and years and years of this, scratching your head, because like it seems like that would make sense. And now a guy who played on some of the best D lines the franchise has ever has is also endorsing something like that. How do they not see it? Are they too afraid to make a move like that?
Well, when it's 3rd and 3 all the time, there's not much you can do.
Yeah,
not just that. I mean, our defense is so run down after being on the field so much because our offense can't sustain drives. We saw it when like the O-line started to crumble in front of Eli and the defense was just gassed in the 3rd and 4th quarter. And I think that's what we're seeing. They can't get off the field and stay fresh. It's a little bit of scheme. I think the defense has been a bright spot this year. I think they're overperforming, right? And to Gettleman's credit, if you don't give him credit for Bradbury and Martinez, then you're out of your mind because imagine what our defense would be without those two guys.
Yeah, remember, Jeff, when the guy tweeted me, "You're crazy. Martinez is
Ogletree part 2.
I was like,
and Fackrell too.
He showed up last week, dude.
But you gotta have those guys. That will put their head down and do the work. And the one word that comes to mind, or two of them, which I'm sure you guys have talked about, there's been no complimentary football.
Nope.
Yeah.
Which, God bless Eli, he'd at least put a drive together before he threw a pick. Right? Like, he'd at least give us 8 or 9 plays before he threw a pick in the red zone to get us some rest, right?
Yeah. It would come to a point in time where I'm like, just get a first down here. Get a first down. Move the ball. Move the chains a few times to give that defense a blow.
Mikey Fresh, let's talk about that. Did we like what we saw against Dallas? Because there was a lot of things that they did this week. First of all, Garrett finally shows up and he's got like packages. I mean, flea flicker. I mean, bootleg.
Playing the Dallas defense will certainly help, no doubt.
I'm just saying, like, so Garrett shows up with it, like, to show, he wants to make sure he shows up for Dallas and Dallas, right? Garrett shows up. Slayton goes off the hook. I watched the all-22. Caden Smith and Zeitler had a good day. Listen to this. You can actually see Garrett pull Zeitler, right? Pull Zeitler. And the linebacker with the long dreads.
Jalen Smith?
Jalen Smith literally follows Zeitler on the pole, roll out, hit the guy in the flat. Like there was something different about this game. So you guys, and so my question to you, Fresh, is you had to have liked what you saw, didn't you?
I thought the biggest difference was the run blocking. The run blocking was a lot better than it's been earlier this year. And if Barkley had some of those holes, he would have ran for maybe 200 yards if he had some of those creases, because they're getting way more of a push than they did in the first couple of games. I know you can look at the opponents, but we talked earlier about criticizing Gettleman for the offensive line not performing, but you can see it coming together in a sense, and it has to continue to trend that way. Because Daniel Jones can't be our leading rusher, right? And like that's been also a trend in the first quarter of the season. So Freeman's done a decent job, and if they can continue to get a push and give Jones a little bit of a running game behind him, it will help out cover up some of the flaws on the outside that we have with just lack of weapons outside of Slayton, really. And one of those other guys has got to step up too. We need somebody.
They got rid of, what do you call it today?
Ratley, and brought Mack in, right?
Yeah, and brought Mack up. Yeah,
that's good. I thought. Would you guys agree? I thought Freeman actually had a burst on Sunday.
He looked fresh.
I thought he looked pretty good. Maybe he's getting back into shape, getting more comfortable, and the O-line is playing a little bit better against what was a softer defense. But hopefully that continues.
We got to see growth, though, right?
Yeah,
I think. Obviously, not having Saquon is a huge blow, right? I mean, he's a generational
best player.
Yeah.
But we have to see growth across the board. It's probably not going to be a great season. I think we all understand that. We're going to have our growing pains, but we got to see a surge here at some point of some growth up front. Does it look like Garrett's learning his guys, right? We don't have a preseason. It's going to take time with that. I like Joe Judge. I like Coach Judge. I feel like he's intentional. The guys care about him. There's a lot there with that.
The guy ran a fake field goal for a touchdown. How could you not love the guy?
That was heartbreaking.
And I love special teams coaches as head coaches, because when you look at it, they're the only coach on the staff other than the head coach that deals with every player. So they're familiar with really dealing with a team of different individuals and making them a group. I like him.
John Harbaugh.
We got to see some growth, though. We got to see more pushing the ball downfield, running the ball. Like, we're getting into some bad spots offensively. We got to be physical and move people around.
I hope they can move people around. So the line sometimes makes me think we can't push people around.
They've improved though, like slowly but surely. I think that no preseason. We'll kind of see. I'm very interested to see like what conversation we're having about the progress of the offensive line in December. Like that'll be really telling.
Listen, you're not talking, Dave. You agree? I mean, if they win 4 games, we're lucky. But we come to that agreement on that now. We're not going to be,
They could have 2 wins now.
I think if they win 6 games, the 6 is the over/under. Let's say that, right? If they go 6-10, Gettleman keeps his job.
All right.
And that means we went 6-5 down the stretch, so he definitely keeps his job probably.
So how many NFC East games do we have left?
Well, 1 Dallas, 2 Philly, 2 Washington.
I think we can win those, right? Is that – I don't think that's crazy.
Well, here's the thing. The Giants haven't beat the Eagles in like 6 years.
Or Dallas.
What?
2016 is the last time.
You're lying.
No, that's the truth.
It's true.
No, I think they beat Philly in the year
that was 2016. It's been 4 seasons.
I thought it was
Dave just lost. Yeah. Dave just lost his hair.
It was 2016, the 11-5 season. That's the year that all the bad breaks, the bad bounces, they went our way that year. And that's the difference between.
In fact, they didn't sweep them, Jeff, because that dude kicked a 62-yard field goal, if you remember.
as a rookie,
yeah,
Philly
like,
kicker, yeah.
They would have swept the Eagles that year.
Yep.
But that dude came and kicked like a 63-yard field goal to win the game.
I hope Carson Wentz gave him his game check because that's the I don't know if you heard that soundbite before that kick. He said, "I'll give him my game check if he hits this."
Really?
Well, let's do
That's
this. Let's
crazy.
Dave. Let's move on to some fun stuff. All right, because we know the Giants right now aren't fun. Let's talk 2007. Let's talk about 2011. Right? You got 2 rings.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you still have your rings.
Yeah, they're somewhere around the house.
Okay. So you have 2 rings. Spags in 2007.
Yeah.
Perry Fuel in 2011. Give me something. Did you like one coach better than the other? What was the difference between those 2 coaches? Like, what was it like? Because, again, think about it. The average player doesn't win 2 Super Bowls and then under 2 different coordinators.
I'm the luckiest guy ever, blessed guy ever, whatever you want to say it. To be around for stuff like that was incredible. As far as personally, they're really 2 totally different things. Well, the first one I was Strahan's backup, right, which is like, I'll just hang out and tell me when he needs a breather. You know,
Was he cool to play with?
Oh, awesome! Me and Mike. So all of us still talk every day. We have a group text together.
Nice.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Right there. That's classic.
Yeah,
That's great.
We talk every day. Fred Robbins, Barry Cofield, Strahan, Tuck, OC, Jay Alford, and Awasim's on it too.
Oh my, that's awesome.
So we all have a really good time with it. All still really close, as you kind of would expect with going through something like we did, right? I mean, neither Super Bowls were expected, other than for us. Like, we expected to win them because we were there, but I mean, it was a surprise to everybody. But as far as Spags or Perry, they were both awesome. I'm closer to Spags. He actually got me tickets for me and my boys to a Kansas City game last year, which was awesome.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Super cool guy.
Great coach.
Perry's great too. I think what was really good about both of them, if not great, is they used what they had to win games, right? He understood that he had a plethora, both of them, Perry and Steve.
They had some guns, yeah.
Right? So let's use these guys in their right way to make us great on defense. And once he figured it out, man, I tell you what, something that gets in my craw, and it probably gets in your guys' craw all the time, and it sounds ridiculous because I have 2 Super Bowl rings, but that 2018,
oh man,
dude,
That was the best team. That was the best team that you were on, probably.
Don't
team I ever played.
bring
They
guns
beat
to the nightclub.
they beat the 2 Super Bowl participants on the road that year. They beat Arizona and Pittsburgh on the road that year. And in both games, we had significant guys missed with injuries, and we went into those stadiums and beat both those teams.
All right,
We were rolling that year, dude.
wait,
yeah.
all right, so wait, Dave, is there any truth to the Steve Smith story about how we got robbed the week before?
100%.
Wow.
100%.
That's why Plaxico brought the gun with him.
Yep.
Let me ask you this.
That was the whole genesis of the player protect thing that they have now, was they got off-duty officers to drive us around when we would go out so that wouldn't happen again. It was so bizarre. It was because Coach Coughlin came into meeting that morning. He's like, Plexico had an accident and got hurt. And we're all like, what?
You were like, wait, we were with him.
I wasn't. I'm surprised I wasn't. Honestly, I would hang out with him and Antonio and all those guys all the time. I mean, we all hung out. I went to Arizona on vacation this last year with my family, and I hung out with Antonio. Like, we're all really tight. I went to the Bahamas with Plaxico a couple years ago, and his wife and my wife and Brandon Jacobs and his wife. We're all still really tight. It was just a weird situation, but that team, and we didn't have OC either.
He got hurt.
Yep. So that year
came on late. Yeah.
It was a really odd year for me because he got hurt in the preseason, and I was kind of the next guy up. We signed Jerome McDougal. I was making minimum. We gave Jerome $2 million, and Jerome was a great guy, but he had been shot before, had a bunch of issues with his knees and stuff. So I really didn't get to play until I played against the Bengals. It's a really funny story, actually. Our D-line coach, Coach Waffle, comes in. He's like, Dave, we got a problem. This is right before the game. We're about to play the Bengals at home. I'm like, what do you mean? What's the problem? He's like, you have to play. I'm like, that's not a problem.
Yeah. That's my dream. What do you mean?
You're like, what? What do you mean? This is what I've been waiting for.
I ended up having a sack, my first sack that game, too.
All right.
Yo, I got and compliments to you. What I always liked about your game, actually, big fan, and I'm not kissing your ass, but I mean, listen.
I appreciate it.
No, I'm serious. What was great about your game was, and I'm sure you hear it all the time, but I'm a big fan of the motor. Because sometimes, look, as the guy from Dallas said this weekend, you can't go 100%. Did you guys hear that? The guy from Dallas said you can't go 100% every play. Well, regardless if that's true or not, which I'm sure it is, nobody's supposed to say that. But I will tell you, it was always a pleasure to watch you play because the motor, man, you were like, I'm coming. Oh, yeah, and I'm still coming.
Yeah, man, I was playing with house money, man. I was so happy to be there. The guys treated me – I mean, those guys I played with are my best friends forever. I mean, they treated me like I was one of the dudes. And that I just wanted to be out there. I was so happy to be a part of it and just excited. But the crazy thing is, we were all like that. Like, our practices as a D-line were so competitive. I mean, not sacks at practice. So if we had a D-line dinner on Friday night, our coach would track sprint to the ball. It was called STBs. So you had if you wanted to go to dinner and someone would pay for it, you had to have 20, not sacks, not tackles, not plays. You had to have 20 STBs at the end of the week at practice. That was our competition, was sprinting 40 yards downfield, and you had to touch the ball carrier.
That was great.
It was every day. Our get-off drills was push-ups. If you didn't get past 5 yards before the first guy, it was just –
Fred Robbins is running downfield?
Dude, everybody.
Fred Robbins is a big boy.
Dude, it was the rule.
And you never took a play off either, man. Like, never took a play off. There was always one thing that always stood out and was much appreciated just to watch you come in and give it your all.
Well, and I loved it. I really appreciate that's all I wanted to do, man. Like any of us, right? As young boys, we all dreamed about probably not you, Jeff, but like we all dreamed about playing in the NFL one day.
That could have been a kicker.
But
when we had Lawrence on, they were talking about kicking.
But you that's what you dream about, and you'd hate to not give it all you had, right? And we were all up front, we were all that way, and it was really, it was an incredible time. Back to what we were talking about, 2008, man. It gets in my craw. We were killing people.
Let me ask you this: biggest mistake this franchise has made was letting Mr. Coughlin out the door, or his resignation? Because looking back, like, it's been just bad decision after that, right? Like, with what we've brought in. And as we touched on earlier, maybe it should have been Mr. Reese and not Mr. Coughlin, right?
Or put Tom in the front office.
Yeah. With the success he had immediately in Jacksonville, I would say yes. And then seeing how it kind of fell apart with the guys they had, I thought they shouldn't have let Tom go. I think you're right. I think when we look at the New York Giants, we're not the Raiders. We're not the Falcons. We're different. We operate differently. It's so hard to say, though. It's just I would say the biggest travesty of the last 10 years, if you want to say it, really, since 2011, was watching that O-line age out and not
deteriorate
and not get people to replace them.
They wasted Eli's some of his prime years.
I agree. More than Tom. And part of it is probably Tom's fault also, but Jerry Reese, the college scouting guys, Mark Ross, who I also hate, would kick him in his face if I saw him.
Really?
I can't. You're like literally like reading my mind, man.
So I would say not protecting Eli, because I think you're right. I think we missed, really, I would say up till 2016, 17, some potential really good playoff football. And I don't know if that was getting rid of Tom. Most of it to me is not getting people around Eli to protect him. Because, I mean, we're seeing it now with Odell. When Odell left, I don't think it's coincidental he's had a problem with Baker he hasn't been who he was since he left the Giants, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that crazy to say that there was a time there that Eli was playing really good football without a supporting cast up front, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, yeah, Odell comes in and he just makes such a big difference than everything they did before. I mean, think about it. In the history of the New York Giants, you never had anything like Odell. He comes in and just changes the entire offensive structure because of how good he is.
Well, and I think if you protect Eli had the personality to deal with a guy like Odell, right? He really did. He was so calm and collected and they're from the same area too, so they could really.
They went to the same high school.
Exactly. So I think it really sucks because success breeds success, right? So does non-success. Like, at what point, if you're a free agent, would you want to go to the Giants?
Do the players think about that stuff?
I think so. You know, how did we get a guy like Antrell Roll? Obviously, we pay him some good money, but he was sick of not competing in Arizona. Well, obviously they went to that Super Bowl in 2008. I think he might have been a rookie that year or a second-year guy. But after that, they weren't very competitive. Guys want to compete for championships. But ultimately, that's what everyone wants to do.
Yeah.
One thing's for sure is that we were spoiled during your tenure with the Giants on both sides of the ball, but especially that defensive line, man. There's nothing like constantly putting pressure on a quarterback and moving that offensive line against their will. And, you know, you were a guy that, as fans, anytime we saw go in there, we knew you were going to have a chance to get to the quarterback. You knew you were going to give it all. There was no letdown of effort. There was no like, okay, 71's in there, let's get it. You know, like there was no – we just had a revolving door of guys who were beasts, and it's something as fans we miss so much now.
You guys just like seeing my karate kick.
Well, before I ask you about the karate kick, I know this story. So, but I don't know if they know the story, or at least our listeners, the Giants guys, and we love Lawrence and the Blue Rush podcast. We love all those guys. They've been real good to us. But I know the story, and then you reiterated the story. So, would you mind telling the story about how you got robbed of the sack? Because it's hysterical. And Jeff, this is as classic as it gets, because you win a Super Bowl, but you're like, wait a minute, I got a problem, but I'm not really supposed to complain.
Exactly. So
awesome.
So we're playing the Patriots in 2011. Obviously, we have a great game plan together. We have a really good idea that this is going to work out good. You know, we batted down the passes early, convinced them to do the quick throws. That was part of the plan. As crazy as it sounds, that whole quote of him saying it's like thrown to a forest, right? That was our game plan. Early on, we were going to be physical off the ball and get our hands up. We want to get Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels convinced that they can't throw quick routes. We batted down 2 or 3 or 4 passes, and they played right into our hands. Then they start 5-step drops and developing pass plays. So I'm doing my thing, playing nose guard, which, let me tell you right now, as good as OC and Tuck and JPP were, no one got double teamed more than me. Don't let them tell you otherwise. They're like, Dave, go in there and get double teamed so we can get one-on-ones. All right, assholes.
So they could get their sacks up.
Exactly.
He's a team guy.
Which is fine. So I'm going against like Logan Mankins, who's probably a future Hall of Fame type player, right? And I'm like, I have no business going against him. He's just kicking my ass. And I finally beat him. I hit Tom, and I knock him down. And it's a really cool picture because it looks like I'm punching him in his balls.
Now I gotta find this.
So I hit Tom, and he's falling down, right? Like, dude, I just sacked Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. This is the business.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Logan Mankins is holding me like a madman, and so I don't finish knocking him down. I just hit him, and he falls down. Justin Tuck jumps on him. We're like, sack, number 91. I'm like,
No.
I knocked him down. Like, what? How was that his sack? Right? Like, but you can't say anything. It's a Super Bowl. Like, you just have to sit there and be like, well, maybe the stat guy will get it different, right? So we get to the end of the game. We win the game. And I'm looking at the stat sheet, and it's like Justin Tuck, 2 sacks, me 0. And this second sack that was mine that Justin Tuck stole from me puts Tuck like number 1 all time in Super Bowl sacks. He's tied with like Reggie White. Like, an incredible stat to be like, yeah, I'm tied with Reggie for
No
most
big
sacks.
deal.
Yeah, Charles Haley. Yep.
He owes you, man. He owes you.
So I'm like sitting there like, I can't say anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be the guy that just won a Super Bowl and bitches about missing out on a sack.
You have a personal stat. Yeah.
Like,
Come on, man. That might have been worth an endorsement, right?
dude, it was such BS. Actually, what's funny is here. I might have something going on here. Watch this. You can change. How do you change the back?
Oh, your background?
Yeah.
Share screen.
No,
No, I know what you're talking about. You could like make it like the space or the beach.
Yeah, I know. It's here.
Oh, so on the bottom left, there's the video. You should have that arrow. Go choose virtual background.
Oh yeah, dude.
Dude, if he has this photo, this might be the best.
No, I don't think. You guys there?
Yeah, you froze up a little bit though. There you are. Oh
no, that's not the Super Bowl one. That's the one I missed. We beat him in when we beat him in New England.
Yeah. That was the game I went to.
Man, I got this one too. And then I got the alma mater right here, Northwest Missouri State.
Oh, sweet.
There it is.
I missed him. I missed him when we played in New England. It was so funny after the game. I'm like, "Hey, Brady, great game." He's like, "Good game, Dave." I'm like, "You know my name?"
Oh, dude!
My God,
I just found the picture. Give me a sec.
Wait, you got it too?
I just found it.
Junk punch.
By the way, I was checking out your bio. You had like 3 years of being completely banged up, man. What were you doing?
I was a carpenter.
Like I was reading it, like the poor guy, he missed like 3 years of ball.
Yep. I was in California. I was a carpenter. Then I walked on at Northwest and broke my foot.
Can you see his picture?
Oh, yeah.
See? The right? There it is.
Look at the business right there.
Punching him right in the dick.
Right in the sack.
If he was more well endowed, I probably would have got credit for the sack.
Oh, my goodness.
That's amazing.
Oh, man. All right, last one.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to hang out with us all night.
I'm out of beer, so hurry up.
Oh man, thanks, Dave. I appreciate you hanging out with us. Brown, tell us. I mean, I'm sure everybody asks about it. I mean, like, are you some Patrick Swayze fan?
Dude, Roadhouse.
And this all started because when Tynes is on, we were talking about something, and he says, "Oh well, you know," and he was going through a bunch of guys, and he says Cofield, and I'm like, "Whoa, stop! Best sack dance of all time," and we were all like, you know, he's doing
don't tase me, bro.
Yeah, don't tase me. And I mean, just awesome. And then Tynes goes, "Wait a minute, what about Dave's Roundhouse?" And I'm like, so Dave couldn't remember what movie it was from. He's like, "You know that karate movie?" I'm like, "Karate Kid?" He's like, "No, the other one." I'm like, Roadhouse? He's like, "That's the one. That's the one." So where does that come from?
So during this whole 5 years that we're together playing ball, obviously we're doing great, getting a bunch of sacks. And so it became like, who could do the stupidest like sack dance, right?
Strahan used to do the balling thing, right?
Yeah, then we couldn't do that anymore because it was a group celebration. Then Fred Robbins did the weekend at Bernie's, right? That was his thing.
That's great.
Was Fred's thing.
I love
That
it.
was.
Let me. Let's see this. Ready?
Yeah, here it is. Old Sanchez.
Oh, here he comes. Hiya!
Wait.
What the ref?
Oh.
The ref ducks out of the way. So
that's awesome.
So we're going to the Metrodome.
Okay.
Right? We got to play the Vikings. And this big storm's coming through. So Coughlin's trying to hustle us out of the facility.
Didn't the ceiling collapse?
So we're flying there.
Oh, yeah.
That was that. Yeah.
We land in Kansas City because the storm's too strong. So we can't get into to Minneapolis. So we're all sitting in the Kansas City airport hanging out. Well, my wife was born just north of Kansas City, a small town called Smithville. So I have a ton of family down there and we visit all the time. So we're sitting there and we're watching TV and the dome collapses.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, holy smokes, like,
We're not playing.
We're not going to play there.
I don't think they're going to have that cleaned up in time.
So we go and get a hotel at the airport. We're staying the night. So there's this little taco shop in Kansas City called In a Tub Taco. And they sell fried tacos in this little tub, right? And they're unbelievable. They're all fried.
This is classic.
Macaroni, powdered cheese on them, dude. They got the best salsa. It is 100% the worst thing you can eat for your body. But like everything that is not good for you, it tastes unbelievable.
And you brought the whole team there?
So no, I call the place because it's the weather's bad there too. And the gal knows me because we stop by there every time to get tacos when we're in town.
Wife?
And I said, I need 250 tacos for the guys. I was like, can you deliver them too? And I gave them a huge tip and hooked them up. So they deliver these tacos. So we're all sitting as a D-line group in Barry Cofield's room. And we're just
can you imagine like all these dudes in one hotel room? Like, and they're all like
crushing tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all 270-pound dudes or higher.
Like hyenas.
Smashing tacos, right? So Family Guy's on. And it's the Roadhouse episode where Peter Griffin watches Roadhouse. And he's just running around kicking everything Roadhouse. And so a lot of people don't notice it, but that's the whole point to the finish. Because that's what Peter Griffin did. He'd do that and go Roadhouse. Right? So Barry's like, I bet you won't do that, Dave, if you get a sack tomorrow. I'm like, I bet you I will. And so then it was on. So then we go play Minnesota and Detroit, right?
Yep.
Which is a total zoo because they let everyone in free. So like the doors open and it's like World War Z. You hear like climbing over chairs and we're just like, oh, it was crazy. So I get in and I sack. I think it was Webb or Tavares Jackson. I can't remember. But dude, it's on. Karate, boo, boo, boo. And the guys were like, yeah. You're like, you're the man. And that was after that was my celebration, man.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Well, look, we appreciate you hanging out. If you're okay with it, we bring you back if you're game to come back and hang out with us during the season again.
Yeah, whenever, man. You guys give me a holler. You got my contact info. I'm always down to hang.
Yeah. And like I said, if you get anything, by the way, Jeff, this is how I originally started. I was following Dave for a good, I don't know, 2-3 years. I just pay attention. He's got this picture. I think him and his wife, they're on vacation somewhere in like some kind of like tropical island or something, right? But the billboard across his top is the greenest, luscious lawn, and I got grass envy, right? So
Same.
I'm like
yeah,
this. So, and the thing is, like, I've never talked. He's tweeted stuff. I've maybe fired something back, but he doesn't know me, right? So I'm just like, dude, I'm like, your lawn is, I probably still have it. I'm like, because it's, you understand, it's just a picture of green grass. So I said to him, I go, did you bring in the Giants field crew to your lawn? He's like, no way. And he dropped, I have it somewhere written down. He says, oh, you need a little bit of this, you need a little bit of that, you're good to go. So I'm getting lawn tips from Dave T.
Hey, so me and I think, gosh, I was going to look it up just now. What was his name? Ted or Tom? He was the lawn guy for the Giants, the turf. Like he would do me and him would eat breakfast every morning. Just me and the Skivas and him, and we talk lawn shop, dude. So you gotta have a good lawn, man. You have to. It's the American dream.
It's early October. I just aerated and overseeded.
Nice.
That's what you do. That's
what do you got? Fescue, ryegrass. What do you got?
I got Kentucky blue all over the yard.
You got to go with a fescue. The blue is the heat just kills it, man.
I made that up. It's from what movie is that from? With Snoop Dogg.
My neighbor has Kentucky blue, and he always has issues in the summer with the heat.
We got the crabgrass.
The fescue is much more drought resistant, guys. I'm telling you. You always tell people, stick with me. I'll take you to the top.
The guy's got 2 rings.
I'm with it.
He's not lying.
Thank you, Dave. You're the man.
All right, you guys take care.
Hey, last question. I need to know this. Where'd you live when you were on the team?
Oh, 5 different places because I played 5 one-year contracts. So I put all my stuff in storage in the off season, and I get a hotel because I'm like, they're gonna cut me this year. They have to. Like they're gonna. I mean, when they drafted JPP, I mean, they were always bringing dudes in, right? And I thought, I knew I would catch on somewhere else. I just never wanted to put the cart in front of the horse. So I lived in Lyndhurst, Fairlawn, Fort Lee. Gosh, man, my wife knows it so much better than me, but in a bunch of different spots. Long Branch for like a month.
Nice. That's real close to me. I'm in Middletown.
Yeah, we were in Long Branch. I was commuting.
Strahan fought for you. Did he fight for you 1 year for a contract?
He might. Oh, no.
There was like
Let me tell you about 2008 when Strahan retired. He would call me like every 2 weeks that he was coming back and he was going to take my job. That's how good of a friend he was.
Wow.
I'm like, get out of here, dude. Like, don't come back.
That's great, though.
The year after the Super Bowl?
Yes, because OC got hurt. He's like, I'm coming back, Dave. They're going to cut you. I'm coming back. You're going to cut you.
That's not right.
That's not cool.
Well, listen,
messed up.
You've been listening to the Giants, guys. As we say, the podcast you love to hate. Check out the Everything Tomorrow will be up on the YouTube channel and at nygiantsfresh.com. Dave, we're going to bring you back in a couple of weeks because, I don't know, we got exclusives. We got light beer. We got all sorts of good stuff from Dave.
Everything, man.
All right, man.
Good stuff, Dave. Good stuff.
We're out.